What's good, YouTube peeps and barbecue freaks? Thank you guys for tuning in for this edition of Tito's Tuesday. Today's format, or the format that I'm going to start using going forward, at least for a little while, and this is just because I've got some stuff in my schedule that's kind of conflicting with me being able to go live on Tuesdays. If you saw my last Tito Tuesdays live, you know that I mentioned this. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take questions from you guys. I have them written down from last week. I'm going to answer these questions. If you have a question that you would like me to answer in a future Tito's Tuesday video, leave it in the comment section below in this video, and I will make sure to add it to next week's video. So we're going to kick this one off today with, so I have a few questions here from a few people. And the first person is Big Jesse Chilling, Grilling, and Barbecuing. His question is referring to drum smokers. Says, do they use water pans inside of the drum while cooking briskets, or do they use a diffuser plate? So I don't cook on a drum. I've cooked with a lot of people who do cook on drums. I have never seen anyone add a water pan when they're cooking a brisket on a drum smoker. They always use a diffuser plate. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use a water pan, but usually when you're cooking on a drum smoker, you're using the drum to cook hot and fast. If you're cooking low and slow, you might want to add a water pan in there just so that way there's moisture inside the chamber throughout the cook, like on a Weber Smoky Mountain or something like that. But with drum smokers, those are usually designed to cook hot and fast. So while I've never seen anyone use a water pan, it doesn't mean you can't. I just think that, I don't know, since you're cooking hot and fast on those usually, how much difference it makes. You know, if you were doing a long cook and you wanted to keep moisture in that chamber, you would definitely use a water pan like on a Weber Smoky Mountain. But on a drum smoker, I've never seen anyone use a water pan. I've always seen them use a diffuser plate. So again, that doesn't mean you can't. I just haven't seen it yet. If someone is watching this video and they use drum smokers and you use a water pan in your drum smoker, please leave a comment below and let Big Jesse Chilling, Grilling, Barbecuing know that it is possible that people do it. But personally, the cooks that I've cooked with or that I've seen that use drum smokers do not use them. So let's see who we got. Oh, and on the dock or on deck, I got my Tito's with my cran mango, which is my absolute favorite. Thank you for Tito's for being a sponsor. Best damn vodka on the planet. Let's see, Poker Q. Poker Q actually had two questions. The first question was, it says, I've heard that brisket only takes smoke for 3 to 4 hours. So could I smoke it on the pit for about 4 hours and then put it in the oven for the rest of the time? Or would that lose a lot of the flavor? Poker Q, yes. Brisket will only take smoke up to a certain point. You can definitely go, about 4 hours taking the smoke and then moving it to a oven to finish it off. However, I would suggest that you not really go by the time, the 3 to 4 hour mark, but go until your bark is set. Once your bark is set, then you can wrap it up and finish it off in the oven. What I mean by set is if you take your finger and kind of, scratch your brisket, the top of your brisket, the bark, or even, kind of pat it with your hand. And if you pull your hand away, if there's a ton of rub on your hand, that rub isn't set yet. If there isn't much on there, or when you go and scratch it, if it's not coming right off, that means it's set. Once it's set, you could definitely wrap it and finish it off in the oven. You aren't going to lose flavor at all. Once you wrap let's just take the brisket for an example. Once you wrap it and if you put it back on the smoker, the foil isn't going to let any more flavor get into the meat. At this point, you're just dependent on the heat. So you could definitely wrap it in foil and put it in the oven to finish it off, but I would suggest to wait until that bark is set. If you do not wait until that bark is set, what's going to happen is, whether you throw it in the oven or throw it back on the pit, once you wrap it in foil, it's going to steam in there, and that bark is just going to slide right off. It's going to come right off. It will not set to the meat. So, yes, I believe it's about 140 degrees is when a brisket, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is you take your brisket up to about 140 degrees. That's about when it'll stop taking smoke. But and you could probably get that about the 4-hour mark, but I would highly recommend waiting until that bark is set before you wrap it and put it in the oven. But you could definitely wrap and then finish it off in the oven without losing flavor. So I hope that helps. Poker Q had a second question. He says, do you or any of your subscribers know if the pit barrel and barrel house cooker cook the same? They look alike, so is there any difference? Now, I have a pit barrel. I absolutely love it. I never cooked on a barrel house cooker. I agree, they are very similar. They do look a lot alike. Since I've never cooked on a barrel house cooker, I don't know if it cooks the same as a pit barrel cooker. But again, I've never cooked on a barrel house cooker, so I'm not 100% sure. Those of you who do own a barrel house cooker or have cooked on them, if you guys would like to leave a comment below letting Poker Q know if you have either a barrel house cooker or a pit barrel cooker and you've cooked on both, if you've ever noticed a difference in the two, if you can leave a comment below, that would really be helpful. I'm gonna guess that that they are very similar, but keep in mind I've never cooked on a barrel house, so I can't say that with 100% certainty. If I had to choose between the pit barrel and the barrel house, I would probably go with the pit barrel, just because, one, I have one, I've cooked on it, and I know how great it cooks. So I would just go with that. But and I like the fact that it's really simple, it's really light, extremely easy to transport. You could cook a lot of meat on it if you're hanging it, like ribs, for an example. That's why I would pick the pit barrel cooker. But I personally do not know if they cook the same because I've never cooked on a barrel house. Again, those of you who have, if you can leave a comment below and letting us know what you think of your barrel house cooker. All right, the next question. Gotta lube the palate. The next question is from Blue Smoke Barbecue Late Show. It says, pork butt on the pit barrel cooker or Weber Smoky Mountain, which is better for pork? Good question. In fact, while I'm filming this video, I've got a couple of pork butts on the Weber Smoky Mountain as we speak. I'm going to say I have a pit barrel and I have actually 5 Weber Smoky Mountains. So I really love the Weber Smoky Mountains. I cook on them often. I would choose a Weber Smoky Mountain over the pit barrel for pork butt. I like that you can still get great smoke when you use the water pan in the Weber Smoky Mountain. It acts not only as an item to add moisture to the chamber, but it also adds as a heat deflector from the fire to your pork butt. The pit barrel cooker, not so much. Now, this doesn't mean a pit barrel cooker cannot cook great pork or great pork butt. I've never cooked a pork butt on the pit barrel cooker, but I do love if I was choosing, I would take the Weber Smoky Mountain over a pit barrel cooker when it comes to cooking pork butt. One, because I have an opportunity to add moisture to the chamber. I have the water pan acts as a diffuser plate as well. And 2 or 3, I can add, I have more cooking space on a Weber Smoky Mountain. Even if it's an 18-inch Weber Smoky Mountain, with the 2 grates, you have more cooking space. On an 18-inch Weber Smoky Mountain, you can cook about 4 pork butts at one time. On the pit barrel, maybe 2. So I would go with the Weber Smoky Mountain, personally, I think that one is better for pork butts. I think the pit barrel's better for ribs. That is a rib and chicken. Rib cooking machine, chicken cooking machine. So I hope that answers your question, Blue Smoke. Let's see. Next question is from Tyler Layden. I hope I didn't butcher the last name. I apologize if I did. He says, what went wrong with your briskets? So if you watched my last live Tito Tuesday last week, I mentioned that I made some pork butts. I'm sorry, that I made some briskets, and I completely ruined them. They were so black. I don't think I screwed up this much on on a brisket ever. I cooked them on my SLOW-N-SEAR Kamado, and it wasn't the cooker's fault. The cooker ran great. It was my fault. I put them on late at night, and I was tired. I fell asleep, and normally I set my alarm to go off at like every hour so I could get up and go and check on my briskets or whatever I'm cooking if I'm doing an overnight cook. Well, this time I forgot. And I woke up in the morning, went outside to check all the briskets, and they were black. They were completely ruined, and what made it worse is they were for customers. So I had to run to the grocery store early the next morning and buy some more briskets and try to cook those hot and fast. These I was cooking low and slow. So these other briskets I had to cook hot and fast to get them done in time for my customers. But that's what happened to the briskets. I dropped the ball. I fell asleep and completely forgot to check on them. And when I did, it was too late. So I brought those briskets inside. The smell in this house is just horrible. So you guys know, man, even someone like me, you know, who's been cooking for a while, I can completely screw up and totally ruin a cook. They were bad, you guys. I wouldn't have given them to my dog if he was still around. That's how bad they were. Let's see, the last question is going to be from Kelton Graham. Kelton says, which is better for smoking in the pit barrel, lump or briquettes? Some people swear by Fogo, Rockwood, Jealous Devil. What do you think? So, Kelton, when it comes to deciding between lump and briquettes, for me personally, I don't think one is better than the other. I do think one is better than the other depending on what you're cooking. If I'm doing a long cook, if I'm doing, let's say, a brisket, a pork butt, I like briquettes, no matter what cooker I'm cooking in, because I could get a longer burn time out of that. If I'm doing something like burgers, fajitas, maybe even ribs, I would probably go with lump as well, or I would use lump. I wouldn't be against using lump. Lump, I think burns a lot quicker. I don't think it burns as evenly if you took a charcoal briquette, whether it's from B&B, Kingsford, whoever. The briquettes are all one size, so they burn evenly. With lump is, if you ever use lump, you know it. I mean, they're all different sizes, so you don't get a even burn, in my opinion, like you would with briquettes. Lump is great. It works great. I think you get a better burn with lump, but depending on what I'm cooking, regardless of what I'm cooking on, determines whether I'm using lump or charcoal. So on the on the pit barrel, you can use either one. It just depends on what you're cooking. Again, if you're doing a long cook, I would probably go with briquettes. If you're doing something that's a shorter cook, I would probably go with lump. So you can't go wrong with either one. So I hope that answers your question. All right, you guys, thank you guys for joining me today. If you have a question that you would like me to answer in next week's video, leave it in the comment section below, and I will make sure to add that to the list for next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys next time. Take care.